pilot container structure, it's probably one of the biggest valve chambers we've got in our whole system.
The ban on organics from the garbage that will be coming into effect by 2015 is going to affect everybody.
We like composting. We keep composting it until it's ready for the market, so there's basically no waste.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Timmer.
And I'm Dagmar Timmer.
And you're watching The Sustainable Region.
This show looks at how cities are interconnected webs of roads, pathways, homes, businesses, and green spaces.
Cities also have networks of infrastructure we normally don't see, like garbage landfills, water pipes, and sewage treatment.
Big changes are on the way in many of these behind-the-scenes services, so that's our theme today. Let's start with a trip to the Vancouver landfill, which is actually located in Delta.
Welcome to the Vancouver landfill. Today is an excellent day for a tour. It's really sunny, so we'll get to see a lot while we're out. The first thing we're going to see here is our waste scales, and all of the vehicles that come on site are scaled in to determine the weights, and all of our rates are weight-based. And so most vehicles will weigh in, and then they'll weigh out, and they'll pay on the difference.
Hi. What do you got, bud? Garbage. No drywall or ceiling tiles, mattresses, liquids.
Most of the time people are really friendly and it's fun working in the scale house because, you know, most people are nice or they have a little joke for you or something like that, right? So yeah, no, a lot of times people are in good moods, but if they've been out there in the lineup in the heat, maybe not.
So this is what most people would see when they come to the site. So it's our residential drop-off area. The garbage all goes on to the left-hand side or the north side and is dropped into the bins. And the roll-off truck takes it up the hill.
I started here probably about third week of operations here. And I've been here now about 31 years. When I started here, it was kind of like hole in the wall. Just looked like a hill with a bunch of crap on it. It's really stepped up. All that pile there used to go into the fill site. So it's a good thing, doesn't anymore.
So we have an area for recycling refrigerators, for freezers and air conditioners, and so we need to remove the refrigerant before those items go for recycling. We have a company through Metro Vancouver that helps us with that. We want to keep drywall out of the landfill because when it gets covered with the garbage and dirt, it will decompose and create hydrogen sulfide gas, which smells like rotten eggs, and it's not good for odor complaints around in the local community. We do some wood recycling, so we accept that at the same rate as for yard trimmings, and the wood is reused on site, and so we'll use it for road building, and some of it we grind up and some of it we just use straight in place. We have a recycling program for mattresses as well, and so all of those go for recycling, which is great because when the machines run over those mattresses, the springs are liberated and they wrap around the wheels and they cause us a lot of grief operationally. We have the Salvation Army here on site as well, and so they take a lot of items, mostly the electronics and anything else that's usable. This past year in 2013, we had almost 1,000 school kids out for the day. And they'll say, well, why is that in the landfill? It's still usable. Why is that item there? Or why is there so much garbage? Or why are there so many trucks? And I say, well, it starts with you at home. The more you reduce, reuse, and recycle, the less you send to us and we have to manage. By the time it gets to us, it's essentially too late. We're not able to scavenge through the materials here safely and remove anything. So we depend on the customers that bring stuff to the door. But really, it starts at home with you. We're just coming up to our composting facility for yard and garden trimmings. So we don't do any composting of food waste here at all. That goes to other sites in the region. But we do manage about 25,000 tons of yard trimmings here every year. We use it with our parks groups or our streets groups, and we sell it to nearby residents or local landscapers to improve soil quality. We have a grinding machine or a grinder And it's actually called the Beast. It says so right on it. And the material is loaded into the Beast, into the grinder, and it's ground into smaller pieces, and then it's put into the long piles, the windrows. And we turn that periodically over the 6 to 9 months to allow oxygen to enter into the piles. And then we'll take that material from the windrows and we'll take it over to the screening plant. The good material falls through the holes and comes out on the one side, and that's the material that we sell, so it's less than a ½ inch in dimension. And then the overs are the material that stay on the trommel, and they come out the other side. And that material we can use to restart new composting windrows. So we'll mix it with incoming waste and recompost it again.
I really like composting. I really enjoy this. It makes me feel useful. We keep composting it until it's ready for the market, so there's basically no waste. So that's what I like about it, and it's a good feeling.
Peace of mind is hard to find when plastic's filling up your dreams. You try to do your best, but the blue bin's busting at the seams. And when the milk's all done and you're through with chugging, please take this simple step before you toss that jug in.
Stop it. Wash it up good like you know that you should. Switch it down flat so it's ready to stack. Grab a few friends and bring them to the spot. Stomp it, stomp it, stomp it, stomp it, stomp, stomp, stomp. Stomp it, stomp it, stomp it, stomp it, stomp it, stomp it, stomp it. Stomp it, stomp it, stomp it, stomp it, stomp, stomp, stomp.
Stop it.
You're watching The Sustainable Region. I'm Vanessa Timmer.
And I'm Dagmar Timmer.
We're in Taylor Park in Burnaby. It's not far from the Edmonds SkyTrain. This used to be a landfill until the 1980s, known as Stride Landfill, and now it's a fabulous neighborhood park.
We're going to continue our look at an active waste site, the Vancouver landfill.
We're here at the active face of the landfill where the garbage is going, so the trucks are disposing of the garbage up on the top. The machine we see behind me is a compactor, and so the job of the compactor is to squish as much garbage into the airspace as possible. And you can see the big steel wheels on there. The machine's very heavy and it uses the weight of the machine plus the steel wheel's teeth to break up the garbage and place it in place. There are also bulldozers that are on the face that push the garbage into place where we need it.
I've been here for 22 years this month. I love working outdoors. It's nice, you know, stuck in four walls. You get to play with these lovely toys and, you know, it's all good. It's a lot of fun.
City of Vancouver owns and operates the site, and we opened in 1966 and we've been filling since then. The site is approximately 3 kilometers long and about 800 meters wide or north-south, so a big rectangle. The whole site has been filled already, or preloaded if you will, and we're taking the majority of the site up to the final height of 39 meters above sea level. And that's in keeping with our design, operations and progressive closure plan that was approved by the Ministry of Environment. What happens when we put the garbage in place is we will cover the garbage with dirt, and so then the oxygen will be consumed by the bacteria microorganisms, and basically there's no oxygen present. When I give tours, I like to tell people it's like your child throwing a Tupperware container into the back of the fridge, and you don't see it for 2 weeks, you pull it out and it's decomposing, there's really no air in there, it smells, and that's what happens underneath the landfill covers.
When we landfill, there's little bacteria inside the landfill that end up eating the organic material, and they produce landfill gas as a byproduct. And we want to collect that landfill gas, so once we've filled the cell or an area of the landfill, we'll come back in and drill all these gas wells to extract the gas. We have over 300 gas wells here at the landfill. Landfill gas is typically 50% methane, 35% carbon dioxide, and about 15% nitrogen. Methane's about 21 times more harmful for the environment than CO2. So if we collect the gas and destroy it and convert it to CO2, it's a lot less harmful for the environment.
Flaring burns the methane and changes it to carbon dioxide, so it reduces the greenhouse gas emissions. But it is really a waste of a resource because there's a lot of heat given off of these flares, 1600 degrees Fahrenheit, and so it's lost energy. So the better job is utilization. And so we have a contract with our partner, Baxon Power Corporation, and they have 4 reciprocating engines where they're able to use the landfill gas and convert it to electricity for 6,000 homes. And at the same time, the engines have hot water jackets on them to be able to capture the heat from those engines, and it's used radiantly in the greenhouses to grow tomatoes. We have a bird control contractor on site, so you might be able to hear the bangers and screechers that they're letting off. Boundary Bay Airport is very close by, and so we don't want to have any bird and airplane interactions for obvious reasons.
During the day shift hours, it gets very busy with traffic and the bulldozers and compactors, and so that's when we'd kind of like to keep the gulls away from the active phase. After the day shift, traffic slows down, the machines slow down a little bit, and so that's when we allow them to come in and feed. We actually train the gulls to go sit down and wait until we allow them to come in and feed. We basically save hundreds of birds a year from getting injured and killed by industrial machinery.
The closure system on top of the garbage is comprised of a series of layers, and so when the contractors come in, the garbage has already been placed and covered with about 300 millimeters of soil. On top of that, the contractor will place a layer of crushed rock, and then a geotextile or a felt layer, then the geomembrane or the plastic layer, and then another geotextile which protects the plastic layer from punctures, and then another rock layer, and then another geotextile, and then soil on top of that. Probably the most popular question I get is, when will the site close? And our answer for that is that our legal agreements are in place until 2037. And so that is coinciding with what we're calling closure, but there is capacity beyond that.
Welcome back to TSR, the Sustainable Region. It's at city playgrounds like these where children learn about physics and chemistry, though they rarely realize it at the time.
They become scientists and engineers, like the ones today who use ultraviolet light to disinfect our drinking water.
Upgrades to the Coquitlam water supply system have been going on since 2011.
We stopped in to see how the new plant is progressing.
A waterworks project in the Coquitlam watershed has been underway for some time as crews work to install new drinking water disinfection technology.
We've come out of the ground quite a bit since the last feature we had here. We've got the building almost is framed up, and we're putting the siding around the building. The UV reactors are all installed.
The UV reactors Andrew refers to are the namesake of this project. Long, thin light tubes that will shine ultraviolet light into the drinking water and render any pathogens sterile.
So there's 8 reactors, and they're all in place right now. They're vertical orientation.
With only their plastic-wrapped ends visible, they were installed over the winter into this series of large snaked pipes.
They've all been pressure tested, but the electrical stuff hasn't happened yet, so that'll happen in the next few months.
While the reactors are the stars of the show, the piping has caused the bulk of the work.
And then we'll shim this to what we need to do and deal with it.
And from earlier footage, you can probably see that there is a lot of large pipe down there that's all been backfilled. Now, the only thing you could see is the stuff in the valve chambers.
This worker heading down into the valve chamber is helping with the finishing work in the massive 10-meter deep vault where valves in the pipes are accessible.
It's a rather complicated structure. It's probably one of the biggest valve chambers we've got in our whole system.
It's also where the water is diverted from the 2 original water mains into the UV facility, and then back into the mains.
And then the other task is really they finish the lining.
In late spring, crews were connecting the new piping to the existing mains. It's known as a tie-in, and planning is required to ensure that water flows to residents while the procedure is underway.
There's cross feeds from the other reservoirs, so we can feed from Seymour and Cap to Coquitlam, We are at reduced capacity, but this time of year we also have reduced demand.
And then they show percentages.
With the key piping and UV reactor installations complete, focus through mid-2013 was on finishing work, like roofing, framing the administration areas, and electrical.
It's quite exciting to see it go from a hole in the ground to a building. We've got good weather. The people, they tend to be happier when they're out here. When they're looking for the home run.
Substantial completion is slated for the end of 2013, with testing taking place early in 2014. Welcome back. We're in Burnaby, one of the 22 cities that makes up the Metro Vancouver Regional District, along with an electoral area and a treaty First Nation.
In North Vancouver, a new wastewater treatment plant will be built, and there are a number of innovative designs to choose from.
Washington State has several examples, so we went along for a look and smell tour. This bus is headed to Blaine, Washington, where delegates from Metro Vancouver will be visiting 4 wastewater treatment facilities. These delegates will soon be making key decisions about the upcoming Lionsgate Secondary Wastewater Treatment Plant, which is being built by 2020 to comply with new federal regulations. Steps on the project have already been taken. For example, demolition has begun on the plant's new site. Also, a community engagement event was held so the public could bring forward any concerns about the new project. This trip to Washington is the next step in Metro Vancouver's design process.
Pedestrian bridge that goes through the middle of the plant.
The first 2 plants they're visiting are the Blaine Water Reclamation Facility and the Brightwater Facility.
Little noisier. You can see the purple pipe going around the room.
Although Blaine serves only a fraction of the customers that Brightwater does, they are similar in that they both use a new membrane technology to reclaim water from the wastewater cycle. After being treated, the wastewater passes through a series of porous membrane tubes with holes small enough that only a water molecule can pass through.
And it literally is the negative pressure through that hole right there. Yep. That pore side is pulling the water so that the contaminants stay behind. All that water you saw was coming from the inside of literally hundreds of these racks in the tank behind us.
The reclaimed water can then be piped to clients with heavy water needs, such as golf courses, which typically use millions of gallons annually.
With the San Manuel Golf Course, we'll be supplying them with 200 to 350,000 gallons a day. The important thing with that is that that's 350,000 gallons a day back to our water right. We can take that potable water, it just doesn't go away, we can resell it to somebody else, whether it's...
Brightwater is one of the most cutting-edge plants in the world, with a total project cost of $1.89 billion, which includes a statewide network of piping. One of Brightwater's key features is its picturesque LEED-certified Platinum Education Center.
First year we had about 6,500 participants in actual programming, but one of the other things is we get a lot of casual visitors.
Brightwater has also been conscious of a promise that they made to the community around odor.
This is not an ordinary treatment plant. We've got a commitment here to no odors. So when you're doing operations and maintenance type of activities, you really need to commit yourself to not generating odors and really think about those pieces.
The other facilities the group visited are the Lott Regional Services Center and the Edmonds City Wastewater Plant. One of Lott's key features is its LEED Platinum certified office and education center. In this plant, ultraviolet light is used to kill pathogens in the water. They also have a chlorinated reclaimed water stream in front of the facility for community engagement and education purposes.
So it's really quite special, really quite unique, and it invites people to step in, children to use it as a playground.
If our generation and our children's generation don't understand water better, worldwide, globally, where we fit in, we're going to have problems in the future.
This is the Edmonds City Wastewater Plant, the last plant on the group's journey. One of the key features of this plant is its location in the central downtown core and its proximity to public housing.
We spend a considerable amount of time in talking about in this community
is how we could make it not look like a wastewater treatment plant.
This plant solved its proximity problem by building an attractive building with a small park attached to it.
It's very nice. Actually, we've had weddings out there. I'm not sure that all of the folks who attended the wedding knew what was below them, but nonetheless, it's been well received.
By experiencing and comparing a variety of different modern facilities up close, the delegates can make decisions that best fit the needs and requirements of the upcoming Lions Gate Secondary Wastewater Treatment Facility. We all have too much stuff, but getting rid of it in a sustainable way is tough. Like all that old sports gear or that leftover paint that can't go to the landfill. Metro Vancouver's new We Recycle app turns your iPhone into a reuse and recycling powerhouse. It'll find the nearest place for your stuff to go. Simple, sustainable. Everything has its place. We Recycle, now available in the App Store.
We often talk about garbage on this show, and today we're doing that again, because in just over a year, landfills won't be accepting compostable waste like food scraps. That includes compostable waste from businesses. It's a full 40% of their total waste. So some early adopters are starting to switch now.
People create mountains of trash. Landfills emit greenhouse gases that are a threat to the environment. Global populations and living standards are on the rise, and a World Bank report predicts that urban waste will double in the next 15 years. In Metro Vancouver, 1.5 million tons of garbage is created each year. Curbing that increase is a big problem, but not unsurmountable. By starting on a small scale, a solution is at hand. The business associations in these neighborhoods are lifting the lid on garbage. Restaurants, shops, and offices will all be finding ways to shrink their garbage in a zero-waste challenge for businesses.
I almost want to say what took them so long.
Yeah, we're excited about it. We're pumped about it.
The ban on organics from the garbage that will be coming into effect by 2015 is going to affect everybody. There's going to be people that have restaurants, grocery stores. It's going to affect institutions like hospitals and post-secondary institutions.
Metro Vancouver wants to help businesses get ready. So in spring 2013, they created a one-time $5,000 grant opportunity for business associations willing to take on the challenge.
What we've asked is that the BIAs capture their experience so that we then have different models or templates or toolkits that other BIAs can adopt.
Yeah, I was prepared not to be harsh, but...
Candace is the waste team leader in the Langley area called Aldergrove, where there's a small town feel.
I'm just a very passionate person, so whatever I do, I always put my whole heart into it. So coming on, being thrown into this, I've just dove in 2 feet.
Checking the garbage of local businesses is how she starts the waste challenge.
Yeah, let's do we want to see the whole thing, so we want to go down.
One of the first businesses to sign up is Bob's Restaurant.
We've heard about the organics ban, and as a restaurateur, we've been quite concerned. My wife and I have been concerned on how we're going to accomplish that. So when this pilot project became known to us, we picked on it right away.
As far as here goes, we've got kitchen.
Well, today was very encouraging, so that makes it easy right out of the gate.
In East Vancouver, Hastings North is another business association that's joining the Waste Challenge. It's a bustling neighborhood of small shops and cafes that serve both young and old.
We are an area of small business.
Patricia has been involved in this neighborhood for close to a decade.
A lot of advocacy happens in this neighborhood. People feel very strongly about their neighborhood and work very closely together.
Not too far down Hastings Street, another business association is interested.
You know, this part of the city is very progressive. There's a lot of innovative companies, a lot of companies looking at sustainability and looking at environmental issues and social justice issues. So there was an appetite here to embark on this.
Wes is in Hastings Crossing, home of innovation and architecture, in Vancouver's vibrant centre.
There's a lot of professionals here in the various office towers, post-secondary institutions, and a lot of restaurants.
Metro Vancouver wanted a variety of approaches by the BIAs, so the two Hastings groups decide to partner up.
We can share resources, we can share ideas.
I thought it'd be great to partner up on this and have the two of us come together and try and make it work.
The two groups kick off their Zero Waste Challenge announcement at a local business networking event.
Thanks everybody for coming here.
The conversation soon turns to the waste bins in their alleys.
A look at hauler contracts. Those hauler contracts can be anywhere from 3 to 5 years in length, and they're hard to change or to get out of.
I think any help that businesses can have from the BIA right now in getting ahead of the curve is something that would be well received.
We're really at the very beginning of the process.
This parking lot is the focus for Vancouver's Mount Pleasant BIA, where a neighborhood-scale composting project is planned. Behind the scenes of this nearby restaurant is advocate and owner Mike Weeb.
There's a need for people to connect, and I think people have lost that. So I think ideas like this and projects like this bring people together, and they'll meet at different cafes and we'll be talking about it and brainstorming, and you can just see how excited people are. The only issue is that this is a new project, and so we're dealing with insurance issues, who's paying for the power, how is it going to be metered.
They realize their model will need more time for permits and approvals, but since Metro Vancouver is interested, their project timeframe has been extended.
I'm a big believer in sometimes getting out of the way. If you can let people think outside of the box, that's when the magic happens.
Stay tuned for the next installment of the Zero Waste Challenge for businesses. That was our show for today. But at metrovancouver.org you can connect with us and watch more videos about how cities work. I'm Dagmar Timmer.
And I'm Vanessa Timmer. Thanks for helping us make Metro Vancouver the sustainable region.